Answer the call.
Heroes never die.
Welcome to the Delulu Rift. Today we're exploring the new Fortnite and Overwatch collaboration that just came out, and while we play through it, we'll be getting a transmission from the Rift that's all about miscommunication. Let's drop in.
Let's take a trip back in time. The year is 1996. If you weren't alive yet, or if you were too young to remember, let me paint a picture of a completely different reality. There was no Google. There were no smartphones. If you wanted to know a piece of trivia, you didn't look at a screen. You either asked someone older than you, or you accepted that you would never know the answer for the rest of your life. And if you needed a phone number, you had to haul a massive 5-pound yellow paper brick onto the kitchen counter called the Yellow Pages. I was a teenager at the time, and my mom had just handed me a mission of absolute critical importance. We were planning our annual summer vacation to our favorite state park, Pinecrest Lake. Now, Pinecrest was notoriously difficult to book. It was beautiful, secluded, and right next to a small mountain town that hosted a massive, legendary annual festival every summer. If you didn't get a campsite during festival weekend, your summer was essentially ruined. The problem was the town hadn't advertised the exact dates of the festival yet. So, before my mom rushed off to her 5-to-5 job, she looked me dead in the eye, handed me a notepad, and said, "Your task today is to call the park office, find out the exact dates of the festival, and see if by some absolute miracle they have a cancellation for that weekend. If you pull this off, you might get something extra in this week's allowance." I took the notepad. I was determined and incentivized. I was going to save the family vacation. As soon as the front door clicked shut, I went to work. I dragged the giant phone book over, flipped to the government listings, and ran my finger down the crinkly, thin pages. My eyes skipped past a few lines, and I scribbled down a 7-digit number. I walked over to the kitchen wall where our corded telephone was hanging, the kind with the extra long, tangled cord that could stretch all the way into the hallway for privacy. I lifted the receiver, listened to the dial tone, and punched in the numbers. Ring, ring. On the third ring, a guy answers. His voice is incredibly casual, almost sleepy. Hello? Now, looking back, that should have been my first red flag. Usually, a state park office answers with something corporate like, "Thank you for calling Pinecrest State Park. How can I help you?" But I was a teenager on a mission, completely blinded by my own focus. I just assumed he was a laid-back park ranger working the morning shift. I cleared my throat, trying to sound like a mature, responsible adult. "Hi there. I'm calling to find out the exact dates for the town festival this year." I figured I'd lock down the dates first so I didn't look like an idiot when I asked to book the campsite. The guy on the other end pauses for a second, then says, "Oh, yeah, the festival is July 12th through the 14th. Success. Step 1 was complete. He was nice, helpful, and gave me exactly what I needed. But my teenage confidence was about to become my downfall. I moved immediately to step 2. "Awesome, thank you. Now, do you guys happen to have any campsites available for that weekend, preferably close to the lake?" There was a sudden shift in the atmosphere on the other end of the line. The guy's tone went from friendly to completely bewildered. I have absolutely no idea." I frowned. I thought to myself, come on, man, do your job. I doubled down. "Well, could you check the system for me? Just see if there are any recent cancellations." The guy lets out a dry laugh. "No, I can't do that." I was completely flabbergasted. Why was this state park employee suddenly being so unhelpful? Did I say something to offend him? Was he on his lunch break? I refused to let my mom down, so I decided to bypass his bad attitude and talk to a professional. "Okay," I said, putting on my best managerial voice. "Can you just transfer me to the reservations department, please?" A long, heavy, agonizing silence stretched across the telephone wire. I could hear the faint sound of a TV playing in his background. Finally, the man lets out a massive sigh and speaks very slowly like he's trying to explain quantum physics to a toddler. "Kid, this is a private residence. I live here. You just called a random house. You're going to actually call the state park. The realization hit me like a physical wave. The blood rushed to my face, and my ears turned bright red. I hadn't called the park office. I'd misread the phone book and dialed a random guy who just happened to live in the town near the lake. For the last 3 minutes, I had been treating a complete stranger like my personal unpaid travel agent, demanding that he log into a system that didn't exist in his living room. He was honestly too nice for his own good. Most people in the 90s would have slammed the phone down the second a random teenager started asking about town festivals. I choked out a frantic, "Oh my God, I am so sorry," and slammed the receiver back onto the wall mount. The embarrassment was too much for a kid my age. My spirit was entirely broken. I threw the notepad in the trash, abandoned the mission, and refused to touch the phone book for the rest of the day. I was terrified of accidentally calling the mayor or a local grocery store next. When my mom got home from work, I had to confess my failure. At the dinner table that night, I became the evening entertainment. My entire family was roaring at my expense, bringing up the image of some poor guy sitting on his couch being audited about campsite availability by a random teenager. My mom took over the task the next day using the correct number, but it was too late. The park was completely booked solid. But because my family was stubborn, we went anyway. We packed up the station wagon, drove up to the mountains, and literally sat in the park office for hours waiting to see if anyone would no-show. And against all odds, someone canceled last minute. We got an amazing site right by the water and had an incredible trip.
Honestly, the guy that answered the phone deserves an award for not hanging up immediately, because let's be real, if a random person called your home demanding a campsite reservation, how fast would you hang up that call? I know I would immediately. Okay, let's end this game. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Catch you in the next Rift.